The COVID-19 pandemic caused global upheaval over the past 2 years, and as proud New York City residents, we're all too aware of the stark inequalities in healthcare that exist in our metro area. Where you live shouldn't affect whether you may or may not be hospitalized from or vaccinated against COVID-19, and yet, anecdotally, it does. Our project aims to move beyond stories and empirically characterizes the demographic and socioeconomic correlates of key COVID outcomes, namely hospitalization, fatality, and vaccination, with the ultimate goal of informing future strategies that reduce structural barriers to health. Our work merges census and New York City health and hygiene data so that we could explore how numerous predictors, from demographics like race, sex, and age, to socioeconomic variables like income and welfare use, associate with outcomes at the PUMA or census tract level. We conducted exploratory analyses to understand disparities within and between boroughs and highlighted their correlates. Living in one Manhattan district might mean you have 10 times the risk of death compared to living elsewhere, for example. Income turns out to be strongly predictive of all key outcomes, but potential signs of poverty, like unemployment and food stamp use, are much more predictive of vaccination status than of hospitalization or death, maybe because vaccination is a more active form of health than mere viral transmission. We then turned to more formal statistical analysis, basing variable selection for a multivariate regression on key predictors identified in our earlier explorations. After showing that all of our required regression assumptions were met, we used an automated model selection procedure to identify the covariates that best predict hospitalization rate, including health insurance status, income, and employment. And finally, we wondered whether we could use predictive modeling to calculate risk scores for PUMAs, which may one day help census tracts better understand their risk of achieving or not achieving a particular pandemic outcome, such as reaching herd immunity. We also include geospatial mapping of COVID outcomes in a Shiny dashboard to help website visitors visualize areas with especially decent or poor pandemic outcomes over time. In conclusion, our project proves that even within our single metropolitan area, not every PUMA is created equally. We hope that the heterogeneity our work uncovers demonstrates the importance of pooling knowledge so that one day, PUMAs at risk of poor pandemic outcomes might take steps to learn from their peers in order to save lives.